Hello, my name is Jeff Cavender, and I serve as a judge for the United States Bankruptcy Court for the Northern District of Georgia. And I'm thrilled to be here with Nicole Nash, my colleague, who's and we're going to talk to you about budgeting and savings. I'm going to turn it over to Nicole to start.
Good morning or good afternoon, everyone. My name is Nicole Stanton Nash. I am a consumer bankruptcy attorney here in Atlanta, and I am so happy to be here as well. we're going to be talking to you about fun stuff, good stuff, and very important stuff. Budgeting and saving as part of the CARE program, the Credit Abuse Resistance Education Program. So let's get started. Budgeting and saving, a financial literacy program for students and young adults, such as yourself. What is a budget? A budget is a written record of the money that flows in and out of your household or your pocket. So it can be cash, paycheck, however you receive money, and that's each month. Why is it important to budget? Budgeting is very important if you want to achieve your financial goals, if you want more financial freedom, if you want to avoid costly borrowing. So if you're budgeting properly, you'll avoid spending money in other places where it may not be good for your household monthly budget. And it will also help reduce stress. How do you start? It's very important to start writing down all of the money that comes in and everything that you spend your money on. This may seem tedious, but once you get used to it, it will seem like a seamless process that you do each month. Then at some point, like I do, you'll start remembering everything and it'll just be like second nature to you. You want to create a budget. You want to track your expenses. How much do you have to spend? That is a need. How much do you really spend? You're probably going to start seeing those two things are very, very different. So once they become closer together, that's your true budget. Things you're spending on, are they necessary or aren't they necessary? Monthly tracking. This is an example of a budget. You're going to look at your bounce, so what's coming in each month, and then what you're spending your money on each month. Rent, then you have another paycheck coming in. Taxes, are taxes coming out of your check, or are you paying for them on your own? Monthly, quarterly, or putting it aside. Are you eating out? Are you eating out too much? Maybe you can cook more. You will have phone bills. Are you spending money on miscellaneous things such as music, car repairs, which may not be every month, but you still want to account for that. Groceries, clothes, entertainment, things of that nature. You want to write everything down. Know the difference between your needs, what you need to survive, and your wants. Needs are essential expenses: food, clothing, shelter. You need them to live, the basics. Wants are non-essential expenses. When you're doing your budget, you're probably going to think, I need this. But when you're really looking at it, it's probably going to have to go in the want category. Wants are expenses you do not need to live. I do believe I need Netflix to live, but you may not need it every month.
I feel like I need Netflix.
Absolutely. So let's look at this in true or false. Say it in your mind or say it out loud with someone. True or false? A budget is a written record of the money you have coming in, called an inflow, and going out, called an outflow. True. A budget is your written record of the money you have coming in, called the inflow, and then going out, called the outflow. What are the inflows and outflows of a budget called? Income. Remember, your income, money coming into your household, into your hands by whatever means. And then your expenses are the outflow. And that's where you're going to look at your wants and your needs. What do you need to survive? And what do you want? That may not always be monthly. Which refer to a need. Needs, is it not necessary? Something you really want? Absolutely required to live? Something you can live without. The answer is something that you absolutely need. It's absolutely required to live. A need is absolutely required to live. How do you start tracking expenses? Review your monthly bank statements. Know what's coming in and coming out. Log your expenses regularly. An Excel spreadsheet has been my best friend, very helpful. And sometimes it can do the work for you. It'll add up everything for you, or write it down. Use applications such as Mint or other online services. There are a lot of online services out there you can just do on your phone or your computer that will help you track your expenses in a consolidated manner, or all of the above. All of the above, right? That's how you can track your expenses. Let's create a budget and label the expenses as needs and wants. There are two types of expenses. There are your fixed expenses. They're set in stone. They're the same thing every month. Or variable expenses. They change. It may not be the same every month. Needed essential fixed expenses. Examples are your rent or mortgage. Rent is where you don't own the property. You're not trying to own the property. A mortgage is when you owe money for a home that you're trying to purchase. Insurance, car insurance, or the home insurance if you have a mortgage. Your monthly car payments, your car note, taxes, student loans, or other school loans, or other debt, credit cards, medical bills, things like that. Netflix, not needed, but it's fixed each month.
$14.99.
Mine is now $15.49.
Oh, I think mine just went up too.
Sorry to break the news. You see, needed, essential, variable expenses. See, they are needed, but they vary. It's not going to be the same every month. Car maintenance, utilities, gas, electric, water, garbage, food, your phone, medical. So if you have prescriptions, you may not have to get the prescription every month, right? It varies, but it is a need. Wants, non-essential expenses, non-essential clothing. I'm going to repeat this to myself again. Non-essential clothing. Pets, I'm sorry. I'm going to have to put that in needs, but because I need my pet. But you see, it's probably going to be a little difficult for you, but you have to stick to the budget if you want to save. Gym. These are all needs to me. A gym can be a want. You can work out on your own. You can work out with others. Maybe find a membership that is cost effective and fits in your budget when other expenses are lower at times. That's where the budget will become very important. Entertainment, going out, the movies, Hulu, things of Sling TV. There's so much out there in the entertainment world. Look at those little things that you're paying for monthly because they do add up. They are wants. Video, media, Apple Music, Tidal, things of that nature, and other media.
If you think about all these things, and these are all things we like, we love, but they aren't actually essential to living. And that's the difference.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And then other items you want, but don't need. And particularly during this time or the last 2 years where it may seem that during this time of the pandemic, a lot of these wants were needs. However, they are still wants, and you want to stick to your budget. And I'm going to stop there, and Judge Cavender, take it away.
All right. So an important thing about budgeting is being able to balance your income and expenses. At the end of the month, it's important that your income be greater than your expenses. In other words, do you have money left over at the end of every month? If you do, great. you're in good shape. If you don't, there's a problem. That means you're spending more than you're making, and that leads to all kinds of problems. An unbalanced budget brings trouble. An unbalanced budget is when your income is less than your monthly expenses. It raises a number of things. It means you're not saving any money on a monthly basis, and you're probably using money from credit cards or other sources, borrowed money, to pay for your monthly expenses. And the result of that is increased debt going forward, which is never a good thing. It may make you in a position where you can't pay people you owe money to. So those are never good situations. There's also situations where your income equals your expenses. That's obviously better than if your income is less than your expenses, but it's still not the ideal situation, because you're not saving money, and you're not you don't have extra room for needs in the future. So are your expenses too high for your income? If they are, then you have to think about what you can cut out, whether you really need that Netflix account or that Hulu account, or do you need those extra clothes? Do you need that Starbucks coffee every morning? All these things you have to think about and figure out what things that aren't essential for living that you can cut out to bring your budget in line. So let's answer this question. What expenses are easy to predict? Is it A, fixed expenses, B, variable expenses, or C, both? And the answer, of course, is A, fixed expenses. They don't vary on a monthly basis. You know what they're going to be on a monthly basis. So they're very easy to predict. Think about mortgage payments, rent payments. Those are all usually the exact same every month. In what situations can you start saving? A, income equals expenses. B, income greater than expenses. C, income less than expenses. Or D, all of the above. And the answer, of course, is B, the income has to be greater than your expenses. If your income's not greater than your expenses, you're not going to have money extra at the end of every month to save for future events. So what kind of changes help savings? A, increases in income. B, decreases in income. C, increases in expenses. Or D, decreases in expenses. And the answer, of course, are A, increases in income, and D, decreases in expenses. So if you want to, if your budget is currently out of balance, meaning your income is less than your expenses, you have to figure out either ways to increase your income or ways to decrease your expenses, so that you can get your you can ultimately reach the goal of having your income greater than your expenses. And so how do you save? There are a number of kind of strategies to help you save. The first one listed here is pay yourself first by setting aside money from every paycheck. And that's something I've done throughout my career. I've always had a deduction made from my paycheck on a monthly basis to a savings account through my employer to save for retirement. I started as a first-year lawyer, and I've done it every year I've been in practice before I became a judge, and every year since I've become a judge. And it's an easy way to save, and you'll be amazed at how much you accumulate over your career by having your money withdrawn from your paycheck before you ever get the money. And another thing to do is to automatically withdraw from your paychecks. I actually have, in addition to having money taken out by my employer, the federal government, when my paycheck hits my bank account, I have automatic withdrawals set up so that money is moved out of my checking account into a savings account. It's done on a monthly basis. I never see it. What I do see is my savings account growing on a monthly basis, but it's easy to do. It's an effective way of saving. And technology has really made it much easier to do.
Absolutely.
So what you want to think about are what are your financial goals? And it's important that you identify them and write them down. Me and my wife, we love to travel. And so vacation and travel is a huge part of our goal every year. We're through the college years with our kids, so I'm no longer saving for college, thank goodness. But for students like you, saving for college is a big issue. And so something that clearly should be one of your financial goals. Many people want to buy a car, so down payment of a car might be a financial goal. Sometime in your future, you're going to want to buy a house, and saving for a down payment for a house will be a financial goal. And certainly, it should be everybody's goal to avoid debt, because people who have trouble avoiding debt run into a lot of financial problems and often find themselves in my courthouse seeking relief from the bankruptcy court because they can't manage their finances. So avoiding debt is a critical aspect of planning for your financial future. You should also plan to pay off credit card debt. You shouldn't be maintaining a balance on your credit card every month. And a goal, once you become a student and maybe have student loans, is to pay off your student loans as quickly as possible. And there are different types of financial goals. There are short-term goals. Think about goals that you want to achieve within the next year or so. There are medium-term goals, goals that you might want to achieve in the next 5 years, and long-term goals, goals that are much longer in scope. Think about retirement. As I age, I think more and more about retirement. For a short-term goal, think about, do you want to buy a car? And you could save for a down payment for a car or a new computer. Or something like that. That was something you could do on a short-term basis and plan within the next year or so. Medium-term goals are more, what do you want to do 5 years from now? Do you want to buy a house in 5 years? And how much is it going to take you to save for a down payment for a house? So those are the kind of examples of those types of goals. The trick to setting financial goals is, one, be very specific in what goals you want to achieve. Be very realistic. Is it something that I can actually achieve with my current income level? Or if I don't have the right income, what do I need to do? What do I need to do to achieve the income level I need to reach that financial goal? And it's also very important to write down your financial goals. Write them down and review them on a yearly basis, and see how you're doing as far as being able to ultimately reach your goals. Setting goals takes math, and they give you an example here. If your goal is to buy a $1,000 computer and you want to do it in 12 months, you have to do the math to see how much you're going to have to save on a monthly basis. If you have a $1,000 computer and you want to do it in 12 months from now, the division, you divide 1,000 by 12 and you get $83. You'd have to save $83 a month to buy that $1,000 computer a year from now. And the question is saving $83 a month realistic given your current budget? And if it's not realistic, then you have to think about whether it's going to take longer to save to buy that computer, or whether you should consider buying a cheaper computer. All those are ways that you have to think about and use math to calculate what is a realistic goal for you to achieve. And then if you're fortunate enough to have a budget that provides for excess money, meaning your income is greater than your expenses, there are a number of ways that you can start putting that savings to work. There are short-term savings methods where you can keep the money in a bank account or an e-pay account. And that's usually money that you want to have access to pretty quickly. And you would typically do that at a bank account. There are medium-term goals where you would want to have cash to buy a car or a house. And you would typically want to have those in an interest-paying bank account so that you're earning interest on the money while you're saving for your goals. And then there are long-term goal places where you would put your money, retirement accounts. Investment accounts. Most of my retirement accounts are invested in mutual funds and stock funds, so that they have, while there's greater risk to them, there's also greater reward if the market does well. And you don't have a short-term need to get that money out. So what are some of the characteristics of effective goals? Is it A, specific, B, realistic, C, written down, or D, all of the above? And of course, the answer is all of the above. To have effective goals, they must be specific, they must be realistic, and they need to be written down. And so why budget? Why have we gone through all this process? Of course, budgeting helps you achieve your financial goals. It helps you have more financial freedom. It helps you to avoid costly borrowing, high interest rates, and it reduces stress. People who appear in my court because they've not been able to maintain a budget and maintain their finances are very stressed when they come before me needing relief from the bankruptcy court. So having a budget, living within that budget, and managing your finances will certainly help you reduce the stress in your life going forward. We've really enjoyed being with you today. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much.